To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. I am your host, that guy who watches trailers way too closely. And have I found something ridiculous to point out? Now, tonight's scheduled thing is we're going to talk about What If Episode 3, and we're going to do a spoiler discussion, and we'll roll the big spoilery credit thing, and that's all going to happen. And we're also going to talk about the Mandalorian Gallery episode that just dropped that focuses on the season 2 finale, more specifically that cameo at the end and just how they made that happen. But before that, I think we need to talk about something strange. And that is how strange Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Now, I've focused on the villains yesterday and whatnot, and before that I did a breakdown of the whole trailer, but I kind of skipped on just how weird Doctor Strange was in the thing, how willing he was to cast the spell for Peter, and I just kind of assumed it was his arrogance, because reading comics for all these years, Doctor Strange is an arrogant SOB. I mean, he really is. That's how all of it started. Look at the movie. He's driving on a windy road in a sports car, going probably way too fast, and he's on the phone and looking at medical charts, and he gets in an accident. What a surprise, right? No, that's exactly what's going to happen when you're so arrogant. You think you can do all those things because the rules of life don't matter to you, and then, he doesn't want to pay for his accident and, suffer the consequences. So he looks to all the different ways to do it. And his arrogance is that he can be healed. And, so where we'd like to think that he's kind of past all that, he's really not. So the fact that he's willing to do that spell that Wong specifically goes, don't do it. It's too dangerous. That's the worst Wong imitation ever, by the way. It doesn't work. I mean, I get it. The arrogance is there, but there was a lot of weird stuff, Okay, let's start with the first thing that got it stuck in my head is my girlfriend. Every time we've talked about the Spider-Man trailer, she has pointed out how nice Doctor Strange was when Peter first showed up. And she's like, that's not him. He's always busy. He's got things going on. He doesn't just go, Peter, how are you? Come on in. Want some cocoa? That's not Doctor Strange. So, and I got to admit, she's right. I have to admit that a lot, by the way, just so you know. All right. So then we add on the fact it's frost covered and snowing in the sanctum when it's not outside. So if everybody who's going, well, they've got a huge Hulk-sized hole in the roof, they've already fixed the stairs. I guarantee they've already fixed the roof. You don't fix the roof, the stairs and not fix the roof. You fix the roof first, and then you fix the stairs. Anyway, so It's not that, because there's no snow outside for it to be inside. So something's really wrong there too. And then he's wearing the Eye of Agamotto, even though it was destroyed by Thanos in the Avengers Infinity War. When he takes the Time Stone out and he crushes it, well, the Time Stone is supposed to be gone, right? So why is he wearing the eye? If it's just a holder for the Time Stone, what's the purpose of it? And how did he get it back if it was crushed and left on another planet? Was there a backup? Is it like the costume jewelry? Well, we don't want people to think we don't have the Time Stone anymore, so I'm still going to wear this. Because he wasn't supposed to be wearing it normally. It was supposed to be sitting in the sanctum on that little pedestal thing. So what's up with that? Why is he wearing it? But there was something else that was really bugging me about the character. His hair. If you watch through most of the scenes in the sanctum, Strange's hair is like slicked back and just looks weird. It looked fake. And I thought, wow, I hope they clean this up in post, because that looks just like he's got this bad wig on. But as I watched the trailer again, and I saw the scene outside the sanctum where he's putting his hand up and is forcing Peter's astral projection out of his body, a la how the Ancient One does that 2 different times, once with Hulk and once with Doctor Strange. Besides the fact that Peter is carrying this cube with the Vishanti symbol on it, the same as the Eye of Agamotto, you look at Doctor Strange's hair, and it looks right. It's a little puffier. It's got the 2 strands that come down over the right brow. I mean, it's the correct hair. So it's not slicked back. It's correct. So I don't know. Now with Marvel, it tends to be Occam's razor. The simple solution is often the correct one. They tend not to go super complicated on things. So my first thought is, well, this is just Doctor Strange being arrogant and Peter being a normal teenager and, overthinking things and thinking they know what's best, and a bad thing happens. But I'm having a hard time getting past these weird moments. Could the whole thing be an illusion created by Mephisto? Could someone else be pretending to be Doctor Strange? Sure. Could it be Mephisto? Could it be Mephisto? I mean, it could be. Could the whole thing be an illusion created by Mysterio? Yeah, I guess so. Hell, it could be Strange from another multiverse, or Mordo for that matter, though that last one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, Marvel loves to misdirect, and they're really good at it. But they're also really good at the details. So things like the Eye of Agamotto and the wrong hair aren't mistakes you expect to see them make. Now, maybe it's just me being a writer, but I can see so many different directions they could go from here. Hell, the whole thing could be Nightmare, attacking Peter in his sleep as a way to break through to our world, and then be able to attack Doctor Strange with the good hair that's how he gets involved at the end. There's just so many possibilities that the best bet is to kind of go into the movie assuming we don't know anything. I mean, I'm really at that point where we've picked it apart. It's spent the last couple days. Oh, is that Green Goblin? Is that, but it could just as easily be a Nightmare scenario when the Nightmare is the bad guy in Doctor Strange too. That would make a lot of sense. So I don't know if we can really trust that trailer, and it really is Doctor Strange's bad hair that makes me think that. Just something to think about, something that's been bugging me today. And, I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you think that I'm just, I'm picking nits here, and I absolutely understand because it is. I'm like focusing on the minutia here, but that's kind of what we do with the trailers, right? We do pick them apart. And we're already looking at it going, wait, was that Green Goblin's laugh? Was that Sandman forming up over here? Was that Electro's lightning bolt? The red lights are on the Dr. Octopus's arms. That means the inhibitor chip or the arms are still in control. I mean, we're picking it apart anyway. So why won't we pick apart what's going on with Doctor Strange? Right? All right. Now, let's move on to what has to be the single dumbest headline I've seen today. And I've seen some dumb headlines recently. And this political headlines, just horribly stupid headlines. But this one got me. Because this was comic related or pop culture related. And I swear, and it was on a news site that I mostly respect. And it said that basically, I'm going to paraphrase it just so you can't, I don't want to call them out specifically, but this is a dumbass headline. It basically said that Mandalorian fans now wished it had been Plo Koon instead of Luke Skywalker at the end of season 2 of the series. Let that sink in. You remember the big reaction everybody had to Luke coming in at the end of the episode. And by the way, if you haven't seen the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, that was back in December. So I'm not rolling a spoiler warning for something that's that old now. That's over 8 months old now. So, and you had to have heard it by now. Come on. But could you have imagined that type of reaction had it been Plo Koon? Do you know who Plo Koon is? I know because I play the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and he's such a unique looking character that I had to look him up. He's the guy. He's the Jedi with looks like he's got sunglasses on and a mouth breathe thing, and he's very unique. Yeah, JD knows him from the Clone Wars, and yeah, and there's a reason you know him from the Clone Wars, and it's going to pop up in a minute here. But fans, the idea that fans, and I'm sure they posted like 6 Twitter responses about, oh man, I wish it was Plo Koon. Nobody wishes it was Plo Koon. Okay, and 6 tweets does not mean Mandalorian fans wished it was Plo Koon over Luke Skywalker. No. That's just a narrative you're trying to get people to click on your damn site. When I used to work for a news site, I couldn't do headlines like that. I couldn't bring myself to do those absolute garbage headlines because it's so dishonest. It's so much BS, So I see that today and I'm like, well, what are they judging that on? And sure enough, it's like 6 or 7 tweets from a lot of them are people who like react professionally to video or to TV shows and stuff. Seriously? That's not the fans of the show. That's just garbage. Now, I like Plo Koon. I mean, the guy's a Keldor Jedi Master. We don't get many of those. Just like I love Skier in the High Republic series because he's a Trandoshan. And the idea of a Trandoshan Jedi would be right up there with the idea of a Klingon Jedi. I know different universes, but Trandoshans or a Predator Jedi. That's what a Trandoshan is. They're all about the hunt and the kill and stuff. And to go, well, he's going to be a Jedi. That's awesome. And I love it. But Plo Koon is cool. And we know in this universe, he's also dead. He's dead. At this point, he's dead. He dies at the end of, during Order 66. His ship crashes. Now, I know that being dead in this universe doesn't actually mean dead. I mean, see Boba Fett and Darth Maul, but with Jedi's, normally dead is dead. You know, Qui-Gon Jinn hasn't come back. Yoda hasn't come back. Sure, they pop up as little holograms or astral projections, but you don't see them just coming back to life. I mean, hell, everybody thinks Mace Windu's coming back because we didn't see a body, but it's been some time. And Samuel L. Jackson's not getting that much younger. Just thinking that. But there's no way it's Plo Koon. Plo Koon would not have gotten anywhere near the reaction to being the Jedi to come get Grogu that Luke got. I mean, my mother sat down and she had seen one Star Wars movie. So we went through and watched all the movies. Okay, we skipped the last three. But we did the prequels, we did the original trilogy, we did Solo, we did Rogue One, and then we did The Mandalorian both seasons. And when he showed up at the end of season 2, my mother's like, oh my God, that's Luke. And she was excited. My girlfriend, I can't talk to her about the episode without her saying, Mother effing Luke Skywalker. And I mean, to this day, she said it during the episode. And by the way, she's not censoring herself. I'm just doing that because we're on the air. Constantly, Mother effing Luke Skywalker. So why is this a discussion? Why are people going, no, Plo Koon would have been a better choice? No, he wouldn't. But the reason we're talking about it is because the other night Disney dropped another Star Wars Gallery episode, and where season 1 they did like 8 episodes. It was like 1 per episode, and I love that because I am that behind the scenes guy. I'm the guy that watches everything on a Blu-ray or a 4K disc. I watch all that stuff, so I love that. I love the assembled stuff for Marvel. That's my jam. So 8 of them was amazing, and then we get 1 for season 2, and it's like, what? Why are we only getting 1? And then it stopped before the finale. I mean, it had part of the finale in it, but it didn't have the Luke Skywalker stuff, which seemed odd to me. Now, I think what happened is they did it in 2 separate things so that, because they filmed it kind of in tandem with the series, but they didn't want people to let it out. So the people filming the behind the scenes stuff would have to know what the surprise was. And they went a long way to make sure this surprise didn't come out. So the whole new episode that just dropped this week, I think it dropped the same time that episode 3 of What If dropped. Well, it only focuses on that part of it, specifically how they filmed the Luke Skywalker appearance. And I mean, they went deep into it, but the fact is they kept it a surprise really is amazing. And one of the key elements to doing that was they created a plausible alternative for who would appear at the end. Now, if you are a Star Wars fan, and if you are a Clone Wars fan, as JD is, you probably know that Plo Koon is one of Dave Filoni's favorite Jedis. It may even be his favorite Jedi, period. He even says it in the episode. So when people came out and said, oh yeah, we're doing Plo Koon, everybody who knows Dave's influence on the show, because it's Dave and Jon Favreau, all went, oh, that makes sense. He loves Plo Koon, so of course, Plo Koon. Absolutely. But they went as far as they wrote him into the script, and they commissioned actual art. They did concept art with Plo Koon doing the big fight against the Death Troopers with, just the whole thing. Plo Koon. And then when it came time to film the scene, they kept it to just a tiny handful of people on the set. So everyone else believed it was Plo Koon. And then that handful of crew members who were filming it were separated because everybody else was off filming the Robert Rodriguez episode on location. You remember how that's the one thing that wasn't filmed in the volume? He filmed it on location in Southern California Valley. Well, that was the thing, is that they got everybody out of the set so that they could film this scene. And how they did it, I mean, they were bouncing back and forth between how they were going to do it, but they were trying to do it quietly. They thought about doing deep fakes. They had a crew working on that, but at the same time, they also thought about doing the de-aging. They hired an actor, and how difficult it is to find an actor, because you can't go out there going, we're looking for a young Luke Skywalker. So they had to come up with a description for this guy and bring him in and read all these actors for another role. And then when they finally found who they wanted, then they had to pull him aside and tell him what the real thing was. And it's fun. And then they go to Mark Hamill and they show him the script and see if he's interested. And luckily he is. And they bring him down to the set. And they end up going with the de-aging over the deep fake mode just because they thought the de-aging was a little closer to what they wanted. The deep fake wasn't there yet. And I got to tell you, I think at the time it may not have been there, but it is now. The advancements that are happening in that particular technology is moving so quickly that, just from the day they filmed it to when it was released was night and day. Because they put out someone did a deep fake version and it looked better than what they did in the episode. Well, that's because they had an extra 6 months worth of advancement in the technology. So, it's really interesting, the whole behind the scenes on that, because they even get into the downside of the technology. And oh, yeah. Yeah, Lucasfilms hired that guy. Absolutely. The guy was great. And it is a good deep fake. And I've heard rumors, and I don't know how true this is, that they're actually thinking about redoing the look in that scene, or just adding the deep fake in now because they can do a better job of it. So eventually you may rewatch the finale and suddenly it looks even better, because, they do that with Star Wars. They add in special effects on things that have been done for 30 years because they can, And you know what? I don't have a problem with that, because I figure if you're the storyteller and you can add to the story you want to tell, you can get it closer to the look you want to have, more power to you. Okay? I look back at comics I've written, I'm thinking, wow, I'd love to go back and just re-script this one page. Or just redraw that panel because it's confusing, or So yeah, if Disney can do that and the Star Wars people can do that, more power to them. I'd love to see them do that with Marvel too. There's some scenes in Marvel or parts of Marvel that I think are a little confusing or don't quite work, and quick edit job, put it back up on Disney Plus and with the new version. I got no problem with that. I still got the Blu-rays anyway, so. Anyway, so yeah, I watched the episode last night, and again, it completely focuses on it, but they also talk about the downside of the deep fake, and that eventually we're going to have to figure out a way to prove that something is real and not. It's funny, Jon Favreau brought up the blockchain that Boba Fett has in his armor to prove that he owns the armor. That it's his lineage, it's his history. And he says, maybe there's a way we can embed blockchains into videos so that we could see the lineage of it, that it's been tampered with or not. And that might end up being connected to NFTs, which is something that's coming out right now, these non-fungible transfer objects that, you can own and not copy and stuff like that. Maybe that's where we're going. I don't know. Technology is pretty amazing. I look at what we have now compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I remember carrying a pager or a flip phone, stuff like that. And it's pretty interesting, I got to tell you. Anyway, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it, hop on to Disney Plus, check out the gallery episode. It is really neat to see Mark Hamill actually holding Grogu. The reaction to some of the crew when Mark Hamill shows up. I mean, it is really neat. They should redo, JD says they should redo the effects in Ang Lee's Hulk. Not sure it would help. You know what they ought to do? They ought to go back to the Incredible Hulk and digitally replace Ed Norton with Mark Ruffalo. Especially since Louis Leterrier, the director, wanted, I don't think it's Louis Leterrier, but it's close to that name. But he wanted Mark Ruffalo, and the studio insisted on Ed Norton. So had they listened to the director, they would have had Mark Ruffalo in the beginning, and we wouldn't have had that change. So yeah, that would be absolutely awesome. Let's just go in and take out Ed. We'll put him in. There we go. Yeah, I'm all for that. Okay, we're going to get to What If in just a moment. I want to remind you guys that we have a costume contest going on. Cosplay contest. So if you are a cosplayer and want to enter and possibly win fabulous prizes, they haven't told me what the prizes are yet, which means that they could be anything from signed comics to, I don't know, a guest spot on the show. You can host my show for a day. Okay, I don't know if that's real, but I'll let you host my show for a day if you win. Sure, why not? And JD's put it in the chat there. What you want to do is post it on social media, whether it's Twitter, you could do Facebook. I mean, anything that has social media or has hashtags, just use the hashtag that you see there, #the_EXP cosplay. And we'll go out and we'll find it and judge you, because we're very judgy people. Have you met Kyle? Kyle's very judgy. He is. You can see him just staring at you in judgment. Right, JD? Doesn't he feel very judgy? I know he's right now recovering and stuff like that, but I can just feel him judging me from here. We will judge the... JG's just working away like, nope, I'm going to stay on track. I am not biting. We will judge the contest during our 6-month anniversary event, which is this weekend, isn't it? I know I'm going to be interviewing somebody this weekend. I guess I can say it. I'm going to interview Danny Fingeroth. Danny is a longtime Marvel writer, editor, and Stan Lee's biographer. He's written this amazing book about Stan Lee that I am almost finished with. I was actually listening to it. I listen to things rather than read things because I just don't have that time anymore. But A Marvelous Life by Danny Fingeroth, the biography of Stan Lee. As you can see, it's no, you can't because the light on the phone. But yeah, I have got about 4 hours left on it. I'm going to finish it by Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then I will talk with Danny. And by the way, listening to it on audio, Danny does the reading. So it's very unique when you get to hear the author reading their own work, but it's very cool. So, all right, let's jump to commercial. And when we come back, we will get into What If Episode 3. Be right back.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are going to be talking about What If Episode 3, the first on this murder mystery, which I have found completely fascinating. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you could click the like and subscribe buttons, click the bell, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, do the little buttons and the subscriptions and stuff. We're really trying to build up our subscriptions. If we get up to 1,000, there's some options we have that will make it a lot better for us and allow us to serve you better. So we're really pushing to try to get to 1,000. I thought about making a deal that if we get to 1,000 within the next month, within 30 days, I would do an entire episode in song. I would pre-script out all my news stories and then I would just sing the entire episode. But then I realized I really can't sing. I mean, I can harmonize a little. If you want it all done like Bob Dylan or Elvis, then I could sing. But I'm starting to think that, okay, if we get to 1,000, I won't sing an episode. So you guys, it's a self-preservation thing. So start clicking that subscribe and like buttons. Let's get up to 1,000 and make it so I don't sing. Because yeah. Yeah, you don't want that. It might break the space-time continuum. Yeah. Just trust me on that. All right. JD says, I didn't have time to type. I enjoy drawing Kyle's ire, so his judginess empowers me. By the way, Kyle, if you're watching, hi. Hope you're doing well. All right, let's get into What If. But to start with, JD, we need that spoiler roll. By the way, for all of you people who pop in and pop out of the show and think, oh, this is kind of fun, and I'll come back later and stuff, JD has to sit here and watch the whole show and be Johnny on the spot, ready to go for whenever I decide to do something like throw it to a commercial early, call for the spoiler roll. He has to be ready. So you guys should send him some gifts, or at least hit the subscribe and like button so he feels like, he's doing a good job. There it is. Hit the subscribe and like buttons for JD. All right. Now, let's get into the episode. I will tell you right now, it's my favorite one so far because it made me think. The first two, they were just kind of fun, Oh, hey, what happens if Peggy Carter gets the serum? Oh, yeah. So then Steve Rogers becomes Iron Man, or whatever the Hydra Stomper, and Tony, Howard Stark gets more involved, and they killed off Tommy Lee Jones' character. It's just kind of fun. And even the second one, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? He convinces Thanos to be a good guy, and the Collector becomes the bad guy. I mean, they're just fun little stories. Where this third one, it just feels a lot differently because these were the events that built the Marvel Universe, you know? It's not like we're just taking a tiny left turn. This is the major building blocks that we saw happening. Now, some of you may not know this if you aren't comic readers, but there was a companion comic that came out a few years back that was basically called Fury's Big Week. And what it did was it recognized the fact that Iron Man 2, the Hulk, and Thor all took place in a single week, which is fascinating, and it's kind of the basis for this episode. Now, I know if you look at release timelines, Iron Man and then Hulk came out right after Iron Man, and then I don't remember if Iron Man 2 came out next or Thor, which order, but they were much more spread out. And Iron Man 2 was later. But when it comes to actual continuity timeline, Iron Man and Iron Man 2 take place. Iron Man 2, you see him at the end where he's talking to Fury about the Avengers Initiative. On the screen is the incident at Columbia College, which is the Hulk showdown with Emil Blonsky and the army. And in Thor 2, Coulson leaves to go to Puerto Antigua, which is the small town in New Mexico, which I think is like Rainbow Bridge or Space Bridge or something. Anyway, goes there to find Thor's hammer and finds Thor's hammer. So all of these events take place right around the same time. So this episode, where normally these are supposed to be, well, each movie is supposed to get their own what if. This is kind of the what if for 3 movies. You know, it does follow 3 different moments in the MCU. We start with the Randy's Donuts scene. By the way, if you're in LA, you know where Randy's Donuts is. You've been by Randy's Donuts. Well, the Randy's, and that's not Randy's Donuts. That's Randy's Donut on the top and outside, but the real Randy's Donuts doesn't have any seating. It's a walk-up. So the fact that they sit inside, nope. There's no seating inside Randy's Donuts. But, I mean, the only seat you can get at Randy's Donuts is the one that Iron Man had in the top of the donut. So, but we pick up from there, you know. It's, you know, I need you to exit the donut, and the conversation, and Black Widow walking up and hits him with the injection thing, except it kills him. And we're off to the races. You know, it's like, oh, well, what, and the title for the episode is, what if the Earth lost its mightiest heroes? You know, and I thought, well, what if Loki comes to Earth and the Avengers weren't there? But that's what it is. It's what if Earth lost its mightiest heroes? And it starts with the death of Tony Stark. And he's still, I mean, he's got that infection going on from the palladium and all that. And I heard something interesting today. They're wondering if it wasn't so much the palladium in the reactor that got him, but when they blew up the arc reactor at the end of episode 1, the first movie, if that energy blast also plummeted him with, or, you know, just filled him with palladium poisoning too. So that's why he was deteriorating so quickly, was Pepper Potts basically killed him, or was trying to kill him with that stuff. Anyway, that aside, just a neat little side effect there, or side thought there. But you've got that scene, and then Black Widow gets arrested, and she's getting arrested by the strike team with, Crossbones. What's his name in the show? His real name is Frank Grillo. But the guy who ends up being Crossbones and the rest of his crew that we see in the beginning of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, well, they're arresting Black Widow because it looks like she killed him. And she is an ex-Russian spy, so trust is probably iffy. I mean, Fury obviously trusts her, and he gives her the syringe to try to figure out what's going on outside of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they're taking her off to go see Pierce, Alexander Pierce, who we meet, you know, is Robert Redford in Winter Soldier. But so that's taken off, and Fury ends up heading out to New Mexico now because he doesn't have to worry about Stark. Stark's dead. So he goes to New Mexico, and since he's there, Coulson ends up more on the outside perimeter and stuff. And that's when Thor shows up. They're running around, and I absolutely love Coulson's description of Thor. He's a big guy, mid-20s, really great hair. And Fury's like, wait, what? He goes, it's a good description. And of course, when Hawkeye sees him, he's like, Coulson's right. He's got really great hair. But then we see Hawkeye actually fire the arrow. And since he doesn't have his powers of Thor at this point, he's had them stripped by Odin, the arrow kills him. Hawkeye kills Thor. Dead. Just dead. And then, of course, they arrest Hawkeye, and he gets put into a cell. And then when they finally get around to going to talk to him, Hawkeye's dead. And now you're going, what's going on here? That's a lot of weird stuff going on. So you're starting to build this mystery like, okay, Stark dying from the cure for the thing to help him with the palladium poisoning, actually killing him. All right, that's weird. Hawkeye accidentally releasing the shot. Okay. Still weird, but it's a lot of bad luck. Hawkeye dying. Oh, and by the way, if you ever wonder, Thor, even rotting still smells like lavender, according to Coulson. Well, so you got that story going on. Then you have Natasha, who's gotten away from the strike team. Easy enough. And then ends up at Columbia University and tracks down Betty Ross to have her help them figure out what happened with the syringe. And she realizes that something was shot out of the syringe, like a bullet or something. So it wasn't the serum that was in it that killed Tony Stark, because that never came out. Well, while she's there, she looks down and sees Stan Lee's pizzeria hat and jacket, and she realizes that somebody's there. And while all this is going on, she gets a call from Fury from Coulson saying that Barton's dead, and she's like, "Who do I got to kill?" Or maybe it might be after she makes the discovery. I think it's after she makes the discovery. But by the way, for anybody who wonders why they call the pizza place Stan Lee's Pizza, but don't have Stan Lee in the cameo, the gentleman who plays Stan Lee, the pizza guy, voiced the Hulk in the 1960s cartoons. So it was a legacy casting of a guy who played the Hulk or voiced the Hulk way back in the 60s. So that's why they picked that particular actor. But anyway, so out of the closet comes Bruce Banner, but it's not Ed Norton Bruce Banner. It's somewhat of a hybrid Bruce, Ed Norton version and Mark Ruffalo version. And it's definitely Mark Ruffalo's voice. So in a way, we're kind of retconning that Ruffalo's always been the Hulk. And it's kind of cool. I'm okay with that. As we were joking earlier, they could, digitally make that happen. I don't think anybody would be upset by it, but Ed Norton might be upset by it probably. But anyway, so they're walking out, and Hulk gets shot, and because the army showed up, and Ross is like, who fired that shot? It turns the Hulk. Hulk comes out and starts fighting everybody, and then you realize something's wrong with the Hulk, and then suddenly he gets kind of bloated and bigger, and his shoulders grow past his neck, and he explodes in a giant goo of green. And pretty much most of the Avengers are now dead. Hulk's dead. Thor's dead. Iron Man's dead. Hawkeye is dead. All that's left that they know of at that point, because now remember, Steve's still in the ice. They haven't found him yet. It's Natasha's the only other one left. So she starts doing research while, meanwhile in New Mexico, Asgard shows up, led by Loki, who's now the acting king of Asgard, and the crown, and that all goes to hell, and Fury tries to calm him down and even talks him into holding off for a day while they try to find Thor's killer. And so you've got this murder mystery going on that's really interesting. And again, it's a half-hour show, so they really can't spread it out. I would love to have seen this one get an hour, just so they could have spread the clues out a little more, give us a little more setup for the mystery. But as it goes on, Natasha ends up, this is actually one of the best parts, she gets Coulson's password because she's currently persona non grata with S.H.I.E.L.D. So she gets Coulson's password to hack into the computer, get into the computer, and his password is Steve, 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 I heart Steve, 0704. So, yeah, his love of Captain America, big time. And then the 4 digits at the end, so 704, Captain America's birthday. Coulson, Clark Gregg, who comes back for this, is the comic relief in this episode, and he's well needed, and he's very good at it. There's a point where he sees the Asgardians land, and Fury goes, "Are they of this Earth?" And he goes, "Well, maybe Middle Earth." So it's kind of a fun. Clark Gregg is really great in this. And by the way, a lot of the actors came back. Lake Bell filled in for Black Widow, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but someone filled in for Iron Man, who's done a bunch of cartoons as Iron Man. But Clark Gregg came back. Frank Grillo came back for Crossbones. Jamie Alexander came back for Sif. Tom Hiddleston for Loki. Jeremy Renner for Hawkeye. There's another big one that they don't even put in the opening credits. Most of these you see in the opening credits. So they kept the big name out so you wouldn't figure out who the killer was. And that was awesome. And the fact that this particular actor came back blew my mind. But we get to the point where Natasha is looking through the files and sees who's been accessing the Avengers protocol, because they realize that they're killing off the Avengers. So she sees that one of the person who's accessed it most recently, 2 days ago, has actually been dead for like 2 years. And that's when she starts realizing what it is, and she leaves a message for Fury as she gets attacked by this unseen assailant. And she says, "Fury, it's about hope. It's all about hope." Well, for a lot of people, that was the giveaway, where for some other people, why are we... They're killing off the Avengers so the humans don't have hope. And I think it was supposed to give you kind of a Loki sense that this was all a plan by Loki to take over the planet. And then Coulson points out, look, it's all the Avengers, but there's one Avenger left. You're part of points it out to Fury. And Fury realizes, no, there's one other Avenger. And he goes out to his car and he pulls out that little pager he got from Captain Marvel. But instead of hitting it, he kind of clicks in his mind what goes on. And he drives all the way out to where the Asgardians originally came out. And the Destroyer is standing there. And he walks up. He's like, "Soldier, you got a name? I'm here to speak to your boss." And then we cut to Fury standing in front of a grave in San Francisco. And I think it's San Francisco. I mean, it looks like San Francisco. Which means he travels from New Mexico to Arizona pretty quickly, which he could probably do. But he's standing there, and we realize it's Hope Van Dyne's grave. So it becomes pretty obvious who it is, and we see within seconds he gets attacked by Hank Pym, wearing... It's not really the Ant-Man suit. It's the Ant-Man helmet, but it's more the Yellow Jacket suit, which is really fitting because in the comics, Hank has multiple personas. He's Ant-Man, he's Giant Man, he goes by Goliath for a while, he goes by Yellow Jacket, he goes by Dr. Pym Adventurer, which was a really weird time when he was part of the West Coast Avengers. We won't talk about that too much. But when he was Yellow Jacket, he did a lot of bad things. And what it came out to be was that the Pym particles were messing with his mind. And I mean, there's a famous scene where he basically hits Janet. And that's, kind of and they've done a lot worse with him since. But that was kind of the starting point. And he was almost a bad guy as Yellow Jacket. And he had a psychotic break, but they're saying it's because of the shrinking and growing and stuff. So having him in the Yellow Jacket costume fits that history from the comics of him being unstable. And we discovered that Hope Van Dyne had actually joined S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of Pym Tech or whatever, became an agent, and was killed in Odessa 2 years prior. Now, we know the story of Odessa because of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. We find out from Black Widow that that's where she ran into the Winter Soldier. She got shot and said, no more bikinis for her because of this scar. And she got away, but the person she was protecting got killed. Now, and it was an engineer. So Hope might have been that engineer, or she might have been an agent. Can't tell which. She might have, been working for S.H.I.E.L.D. as an engineer. She might have been an actual field agent. They don't really get into that. But there's a chance that she was killed by the Winter Soldier, that she was killed by Bucky, which is kind of an interesting little twist. But when Hank shows up and starts attacking, that's probably the only weak part in the whole story, is why he would be motivated to go after the Avengers. I could see him motivated to go after Fury, but I don't, and maybe even Stark, because there's bad blood between them, but I don't see why he would go after Banner or Natasha or, Hawkeye. None of them really had a good, they didn't spend enough time fleshing out, whichever it is, fleshing out his actual motivation. But by then we don't care, and it's actual Michael Douglas who comes back to voice Hank Pym, which is awesome. And the look they gave him is Michael Douglas, but then they give him these deep pocket, the bags under his eye are purple, and he looks just completely insane. And then they fight, and you would expect, this is a guy who can shrink and grow, and he just killed the Hulk, and he caused Thor to die, and he took out Natasha. He should just wipe the floor with Nick Fury. And instead, Nick is just going pop, 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 pop. These simple, like, ninja master moves. And Hank's even like, what, how are you doing this? And then he does this big flip over the top. And he's like, you're pretty spry for your age still. And then suddenly there's like multiple versions of Fury everywhere. And he's like, I don't get this. And what it is that Fury called on Loki and said, by the way, your brother's killer is going to show up. He's looking for me. So why don't you just appear as me? And then you can take him. And that's exactly what happens. That Loki fights Yellow Jacket and beats him. And Hank is taken away by Asgardians, which means he's probably going to go get executed. Just saying, that is probably done. But then the big twist is that once it's all done, Loki decides, you know what? I'm going to stay. I like it here. And Fury, of course, is like, well, how long? And he's like, And next thing you know, Loki is marching into the UN with Asgardian troops because he's now the ruler of Asgard because Odin is in the Odin sleep. And he walks in and there's no Thor to stop him. So he takes over. Basically, there's no one on Earth to stop him. So that looks like that's going to be the end, that Loki's now, and he gives like a paraphrased version of his speech from the Avengers, in Germany, where he's like, humans' natural form is to be subjugated and, they want to be controlled. And it's the basic speech. And it's Tom Hiddleston delivering it. But then at the very end, we get Fury walking into the ship or the aircraft that crashed that, basically is where Captain America is, and he brushes off the snow so you can see the shield. And then he says, "Welcome back, Cap," or Captain. But he's not talking to Captain America. He turns around and Captain Marvel has landed. So Carol's back as well. So even though we lost Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, he's going to rebuild the Avengers with Captain America and Captain Marvel, which is a pretty good lineup to start with. I mean, I got to tell you, not bad. Not bad. And then you got other people out there he could then recruit. But it's a good start. I really liked the episode. There was a lot of, I love the mystery of it. I'm a mystery guy. I love mysteries. So this was the first one with the real mystery. Everything else was just, oh, this is how it goes different, and this is what happens. This was a real mystery we had, so you didn't know really who it was until the end. I mean, you might have picked it up when she said it was all about hope. Otherwise, a minute or two later, you see the actual, Hank Pym showing up. So you got it within that minute or two. So I really liked that. I thought the art was great. The writing was great. They could have spent, I'd like to have seen them spend a little more time just to set up the mystery a little better. It's hard to do a mystery in 30 minutes. I mean, it really is. And they did pretty well for what they had. But the interesting thing to me is that all of these end with this O. Henry type ending where, the first one ends, Peggy and Steve are still separated by the years. And the second one ends with Ego coming to get Peter Quill, so the Earth is still in danger. And this one ends with Loki having taken over the planet. So are we going to get sequels to these? Are they going to continue the stories from these? Or are we just going to leave them and move on to the next universe and the next universe? And I mean, we get an idea that there's going to be something that brings all these characters together at the end, but we don't know what it is yet. And I don't know what the fourth episode is going to be. I heard that it was going to be the Doctor Strange focused one, but then someone else said that that's actually going to be the fifth one. So I don't know what this next one's going to be. They had released the first three to a lot of reviewers. So a lot of people out there knew what these were going to be. The fourth one has not been released. Nobody's seen it. So it should be interesting to see what ends up being the fourth episode. Is it going to be Doctor Strange, or is it going to be something else? We will have to wait until Tuesday night, Wednesday morning to find out. But that's pretty much my coverage of it. If you guys have any thoughts, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, comment below and I'll see it and we can talk about it next week. So I hope you guys are watching the show. It's a lot of fun. And I'm glad. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the thumbs ups and all those things before you head out. Come back tomorrow. We got a great lineup, including Nick Barucci's going to be on with his collectibles show. We got a big weekend coming up with a lot of guests for our 6-month anniversary. Like I said, I'll be interviewing Danny Fingeroth at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about the Stan Lee biography, which is just a brilliant book. So if you haven't read it, you should pick it up. But tune in on Saturday and hear me talking to Danny about that. Again, have a great night. I won't be here tomorrow because it's Friday. It's my day off. Everybody enjoy. I'll see you Saturday for the Danny Fingeroth, and I'll be around Sunday for Pop Go the Writers over on my channel. Good night, everybody. Thank you, JD. Have a great time.